My name is John, and for most of my adult life, I lived as if time were an infinite ocean. I was a successful architect, my days consumed by blueprints, deadlines, and the intricate dance of construction projects. My world was built on logic, precision, and the comforting illusion of control. I prided myself on my efficiency, my ability to compartmentalize, to defer joy for future reward, to push off difficult conversations for a better time, to postpone spiritual reflection for retirement. God, to me, was a distant, benevolent force, a cosmic clockmaker who had set the universe in motion and now watched from afar. My faith was a gentle hum in the background of my life, a cultural inheritance I adhered to through occasional church attendance and a vague sense of moral obligation. It was a comfort, a tradition, something that would be there when I finally had time for it. Perhaps after I retired, or when life slowed down. My wife, Sarah, was different. Her faith was a living, breathing relationship, a constant conversation with a personal God she truly believed, listened. She would often tell me, "John, life is not a dress rehearsal. Every moment is precious. Every person is a gift. Don't wait." I would nod, smile, and then gently steer the conversation back to our financial planning or the children's college funds. Our son, Michael, a bright young man pursuing a career in finance, had inherited my pragmatic view. He understood numbers and investments, the careful management of resources, including time. Our daughter, Emily, however, had a creative, soulful spirit. She often spoke of living in the now, of the fleeting beauty of a sunset or a moment of shared laughter. I found her perspective endearing, but impractical, a luxury I couldn't afford in my busy, driven life. I was a master of planning, of delayed gratification, of believing that the best moments, the deepest connections, the profound spiritual awakenings, were always just over the horizon, waiting for me, when my schedule finally permitted. I lived in the comforting illusion that there would always be enough time. I believed that tomorrow was a certainty, a limitless expanse of opportunity. I had no idea that my personal clock was about to stop, abruptly, violently, and that the only certainty was the immediate, unalterable now. I was about to be shown that the future I planned so meticulously was but a fragile illusion, and that the precious moments I had deferred were the very fabric of eternity, slipping through my fingers like grains of sand. I was about to learn, in the most shocking way possible, that my time was closer than I thought. It happened on a rainy Tuesday morning, a day that felt like any other. I was late for an important client meeting, my mind already racing, rehearsing the presentation, frustrated by the slow crawl of rush-hour traffic. I was tapping my fingers impatiently on the steering wheel, my thoughts consumed by deadlines and projections. The traffic light ahead was green, and I accelerated, pushing the limits of the speed. Just as I entered the intersection, a delivery truck, obscured by the heavy rain and my own haste, ran its red light. There was no screech of tires from my end, no time for a warning, no time for a scream. The world exploded in a deafening cacophony of tearing metal, shattering glass, and a sound like thunder ripping through the very air around me. The impact was absolute, a crushing, indescribable force that extinguished breath, thought, and sensation in an instant. My body was violently compressed, twisted, and thrown. My last conscious thought, a desperate, fragmented whisper, was not of God, nor of my family, but a bewildered, primal plea for a single precious commodity: more time. And then, nothing. Absolute, silent, empty blackness. But the blackness was not an end. The next sensation was one of impossible lightness, a profound and immediate release from pain and weight. I was floating. I was perfectly calm, perfectly peaceful, and I was lighter than a feather, drifting effortlessly upwards. I was hovering near the ceiling of a mangled, wreckage-strewn intersection, looking down. Below me, the highway was a scene of chaos. Flashing emergency lights, frantic paramedics, and curious onlookers creating a grim tableau of twisted metal and shattered glass. And there, pinned within the crushed remains of my vehicle, was my body. My head was slumped against the deployed airbag, my face pale and still. I watched, detached and serene, as if observing a stranger's tragedy, feeling a pang of sorrow for the crumpled figure, for the busy, driven man whose time had just abruptly run out. I could hear faintly the urgent voices of the paramedics. No pulse, massive internal injuries. He's gone. Their words, so final, so absolute, registered with a strange indifference. I felt no fear, no grief, just a quiet curiosity about what came next. The scene below began to dim, the vibrant chaos of the emergency fading into a uniform, oppressive gray. The sounds of the world, the sirens, the voices, all melted into a profound, suffocating silence. The peaceful detachment I felt shattered, replaced by a growing, creeping dread. I was no longer above the highway. I was somewhere else, a place that was vast, empty, and utterly devoid of warmth, a realm of cold, sterile gray. It was a desolate landscape that seemed to stretch into infinite nothingness, a cosmic waiting room. But it was not empty. It was filled with shadows. The gray expanse was not empty. It was filled with whispers, with a cold, pervasive silence that vibrated with malevolence. These were not the demons of sermons, not creatures of fire and brimstone. They were far more insidious, far more terrifying. They were the manifestations of my own spiritual neglect, given form in this desolate reality. A towering figure, made of swirling, indistinct gray mist, appeared before me. It resonated with a profound sense of indifference, a cosmic apathy, a chilling reflection of my own past self. "You thought time was yours to waste?" Its voice whispered, a dry, rustling sound like dead leaves. "You believed you could hoard it, defer it, spend it on trivialities, always assuming more would come. Here, there is no more, only the consequence of your choice." Other shadows, smaller but equally chilling, swirled around me. They were the countless hours I had spent on mundane pursuits, the moments I had delayed love, the conversations I had postponed, the spiritual growth I had indefinitely deferred. They whispered my own thoughts back to me, twisted into accusations. "You thought there was always tomorrow. You thought you had endless chances. You thought a simple prayer later would make up for a lifetime of distraction. You assumed a future that was never promised." Each whisper was a shard of ice in my soul, a devastating reminder of my complacency, my casual disregard for the most precious gift I had been given. My belief that time was abundant felt like a cruel joke in this place, where all time had ceased. My confident detachment from the urgency of life was now a crushing, suffocating weight, the ultimate consequence of my own procrastination. The terror that bloomed within me was not the fear of pain. It was the terror of ultimate regret. The crushing realization that I had chosen to live a life separate from true presence, always looking ahead, never truly inhabiting the now. There was no escape. There was no going back to reclaim lost moments. There was no reset button. In that moment of soul-crushing despair, stripped of my plans, my projects, my very identity as a future-focused man, all my carefully constructed walls of deferral crumbled. All that remained was a raw, terrified spark of consciousness, a small, lost soul, utterly alone in a universe that felt utterly indifferent. My knowledge of finance, of architecture, of strategy was all utterly useless. All that remained was a single, desperate, broken plea, a name I had barely whispered with genuine intent in my life, a name that was now my last, desperate hope. God, please. I wasted it all. Please, help me. My cry was a fragile, trembling whisper in the infinite, cold void. Yet, it was heard. It was as if that single, raw, honest plea ripped a hole in the fabric of the gray desolation. In the far distance, a single point of light appeared. It was infinitesimally small, yet it pulsed with a warmth that I could feel even across the vast, cold expanse. The shadowy accusers recoiled, their forms dissolving like mist in the face of an impossible dawn. The cold, sterile gray did not flee from the light. It was absorbed by it, transformed, infused with a vibrant, living energy. The light expanded, not like an explosion, but like a sunrise unfolding in fast motion, its colors bleeding into the void, turning the bleak expanse into a landscape of unimaginable beauty. The oppressive silence was replaced by a sound, a low, resonant hum that was the most beautiful music I had ever heard. It was a music that felt like a billion lullabies and 1,000 triumphant anthems all at once. I was no longer in the gray void. I was floating, utterly weightless, immersed in an ocean of this conscious, living light. It was pure, unconditional love, a love that knew every hour I had wasted, every precious moment I had deferred, every time I had chosen procrastination over presence. It knew all of this, and it held me anyway, without judgment, without condemnation, with a tenderness that shattered my broken heart into a million pieces and then reassembled it, whole and new, cleansed by its embrace. It was the love of a parent who adores their child, not for being perfect, but simply for being. From the heart of this infinite, loving presence, a figure began to coalesce. He was not an old man with a beard, not a character from a Sunday school story, but a being of pure, radiant light, vast and powerful, yet whose eyes held an intimacy that made me feel utterly safe, utterly known. His smile was a homecoming, a recognition that pierced my very soul. My soul knew him instantly, with a certainty that made all my blueprints and deadlines seem like meaningless scribbles. It was Jesus. He knelt down so his face, which was made of pure, liquid light, was level with mine. He spoke, not with his mouth, but with a direct flow of understanding into my mind, a voice that was pure love and infinite compassion. "John," he said, and my name in his voice felt like the most precious word in the universe. "I heard you. You are not alone. You are home. I have been waiting for you to call. I have been waiting for you to be present." All my fear, all my shame, all the crushing weight of my wasted time dissolved like salt in water. I was safe. I was loved. I was home. "John," Jesus said, his presence a constant, warm embrace, his smile holding all the joy of creation. "You have seen the consequence of procrastination. You have felt the void created by a life lived always for tomorrow. Now, let us look at the choices that made the ripples in your life, not through the lens of success and failure, but through the lens of precious, fleeting moments. My entire life, every moment, every thought, began to play out around us, not like a recording, but as if we were standing inside the memories themselves, experiencing them from every perspective. We were in my living room a few years ago. My wife, Sarah, had tried to engage me in a deep conversation about her spiritual journey, her voice soft and vulnerable. I remembered smiling, nodding, and then subtly checking my phone under the table, already planning my next day's schedule. In the memory, Jesus let me feel what Sarah felt. I felt her eagerness, her yearning for connection, and then the quiet, gentle sadness as she realized my attention was elsewhere, a subtle gray ripple I had created with my inattention. The scene changed. We were at our son, Michael's high school graduation. He was giving a speech, looking at me with a hopeful, proud expression. I remembered feeling proud of him, but my mind was already racing, thinking about the complex project I had to return to, the emails waiting for me. Now, Jesus let me feel what Michael felt. I felt his immense joy, his desire for my full presence in that pivotal moment, and then the subtle ache of disappointment, the recognition that his father's mind was somewhere else. My emotional absence, which I thought was simply being busy, was a wall between us, a cold, unloving ripple. Jesus didn't scold me. He simply held my hand, and the love pouring from him was a gentle, healing sorrow that transformed my shame into a desperate longing to reclaim those lost connections. "You see, beloved John," he communicated, his voice infinitely patient, "the ripples are real. Every choice, every non-choice, every moment given or withheld creates a ripple. The world is a vast ocean, and you are always throwing a stone. The golden ones shimmer with joy and connection, and the gray ones cloud the water with sadness and regret. We saw other scenes. The time I spontaneously took Emily for ice cream after a bad day, and I felt the surge of pure, unadulterated delight she experienced, a brilliant, golden ripple, expanding far beyond that small moment. The time I put off repairing a broken fence, telling myself I'd get to it tomorrow, and Jesus showed me the quiet frustration and burden it placed on my neighbor, a small, dark, unnecessary ripple. The lesson was devastatingly simple. My life wasn't about big achievements. It was about the small, fleeting moments, about presence, about connection, about whether I was truly living each precious second, or constantly deferring it for a future that might never arrive. The greatest sorrow was not in my sins, but in the missed opportunities, the golden ripples I had failed to make, the time I had failed to truly live. When the life review ended, I was left in a state of profound humility, utterly broken, yet completely loved. The proud architect, the master of planning, the busy mantle these identities were stripped away, leaving only a raw, eager, and weeping soul. "My Lord, my God," my spirit cried out. I wasted so much. I thought I had endless tomorrows. I was always waiting, always planning for a better time. What is the truth of time, then? What is the reality I was so blind to? Jesus looked at me, his eyes burning with a divine love that was both tender and authoritative. "John," he communicated, his voice resonating with a truth that shook the very foundations of my being. "You, and many of my beloved children, live as if life is a rehearsal for something to come. You live as if eternity is a distant prize to be won after death. That truth is but a shadow of the fullness of my Father's reality. My Father is not a distant clockmaker. He is the eternal I Am, and He lives in every single moment, fully, completely, without past or future. And I am the face of that I Am, the hand of that presence. I am the eternal now made manifest for you." He then showed me a vision that transcended all my earthly concepts of time. I saw the entire cosmos, not as a linear progression from past to future, but as a vast, living tapestry of interconnected moments, all existing simultaneously in the eternal now of God. Each moment, each present breath, was a tiny, luminous cell in this infinite, divine organism. I saw that every act of love, every moment of genuine presence, every choice of compassion, opened up a vast, infinite corridor within that moment, connecting it directly to the heart of God, expanding it into an experience of timelessness. Conversely, every act of distraction, every deferral, every moment spent in regret of the past or anxiety for the future, shrank that moment, making it a dull, gray, isolated cell, disconnected from the vibrant whole. "You thought time was a river flowing to a distant ocean," Jesus communicated, his voice full of a gentle, sorrowful wisdom. "But time is the ocean itself, and every moment is a drop, infinitely vast if you choose to truly inhabit it. Your future is not a place you go to. It is a reality you are creating, moment by moment, by how fully you inhabit the now. Every moment is an opportunity for eternity to break into your finite reality. Every choice to be present, to love, to forgive, to serve, to truly see the person before you, that is eternity. That is the only time that truly exists. Your eternity is the sum total of your fully lived nows." The revelation was an earthquake that shattered the very foundations of my linear, future-focused worldview. The afterlife was not a distant destination. It was a present experience, woven moment by moment. God was not a distant judge. He was the very substance of every moment, waiting to be found, waiting to be lived. "My Lord, my God," my spirit cried out. I was so blind. I spent my life waiting for a future I thought I controlled, while life, true life, was happening all around me. How many moments have I missed? How many chances for eternity have I squandered? Jesus' presence was filled with a profound and urgent compassion. "Your regret is a gateway to truth, beloved John." he communicated, his voice resonating with divine authority. But it must not become another distraction, another way to postpone living. Now you see, and this truth is not for you alone. My children on earth are living in a profound delusion. They are so busy planning, postponing, regretting, and distracting themselves that they are missing the very essence of life itself. They believe they have endless time, but their clocks are ticking louder than they can imagine. They are wasting the only currency that truly matters. The present moment? The now. He then showed me a vision of humanity, frantically busy, their faces illuminated by screens, their minds racing, always looking ahead, always looking back, rarely truly looking at the present moment, at each other. A pervasive gray spiritual haze hung over them, the accumulated weight of unlived moments. My Father desires all his children to live fully, to live presently, to know the joy and power of the eternal now. Jesus communicated, "Your mission, Omar, is to be a wake-up call. Your mission is to declare this truth. Your time is closer than you think. It is not a threat. It is the most loving warning I can give them. It is an invitation to truly live." A part of me, the human part, cried out in desperate protest. "They will never believe me. They will say I am mad. They will dismiss it as trauma. My business, my life's work, my reputation. I will lose everything." Jesus looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw the suffering of his own life on earth, the rejection he had faced. "I did not promise you an easy path, John," he said, his voice firm but filled with an unwavering love. "But I promised you that I will be with you, in every single moment you choose to be present. Your testimony is not to convince by argument, but to awaken by witness. You will speak the truth I have shown you, not to win a debate about the future, but to ignite a fire in their present hearts. Go and declare it. Tell the world what you have seen. Tell them to stop waiting for tomorrow is not promised. Tell them to live now. Tell them to love now. Tell them to forgive now. This is my command. This is your life's true purpose." The weight of the command was immense, terrifying in its implications. But the truth was undeniable, and the love was absolute. My soul, broken and remade, finally surrendered to the impossible. "Yes, my Lord," I whispered, the words, a sacred vow. "I will go." The moment I consented, the world of light and love, the divine presence of Jesus, vanished. I was not gently guided back. I was hurled, thrown, slammed back into the broken, aching prison of my physical body with a violent, agonizing jolt. A convulsive gasp for air tore through my lungs, a scream of pure, searing pain. My eyes flew open to the chaotic, flashing reality of an ambulance interior. A paramedic's face, startled and disbelieving, was inches from mine. "He's breathing. He's got a pulse. I don't believe it," he yelled to his partner. "We have brain activity. He's back." The next few days were a disorienting blur of the ICU, of beeping machines and hushed, astonished conversations between doctors and nurses who looked at my charts, then at me, then at each other, shaking their heads in professional bewilderment. "Clinical death for at least 10 minutes, one doctor told Sarah, his voice strained with disbelief. The crash was catastrophic. The extent of his injuries, combined with the lack of significant brain damage, there is no medical precedent. It's truly a miracle. They were scientists looking at a shattered compass, unable to comprehend the divine territory I had just traversed. Sarah was a constant, solid presence at my side. Her face was a landscape of profound relief and exhaustion, her prayer beads constantly moving through her fingers. "Thank you, God," she would whisper, kissing my hand. "He has returned you to us." Her prayers of gratitude were heartfelt. My children, Michael and Emily, were there too, their faces a mixture of joy and bewilderment. Michael, my pragmatic son, tried to explain it away with scientific possibility, however remote. "Dad, the human body is amazing. The brain's response to trauma. It's incredible what it can do to survive." He loved me, he was relieved I was alive, but he was trying to bring me back into the world I had left. while I was grappling with how to bring the world I had seen into his. I was physically broken, but my spirit was more whole and alive than ever. I was filled with a love and a purpose so profound it felt like a star burning in my chest. But the message I carried was a fire that would either purify or destroy everything I had ever held dear. My identity, my family, my community, my entire life's work, all of it, stood on one side of a deep, terrifying chasm. On the other side stood Jesus, his eyes full of love, waiting for me to take the first step onto the bridge he had asked me to become a messenger for the urgency of the moment. My physical recovery was a long and agonizing journey, but it was nothing compared to the spiritual reconstruction happening within me. My old identity as a successful architect, a man of plans and projections, felt like a costume I could no longer wear. The world I had returned to seemed both more vibrant and more shrouded in a pervasive gray spiritual blindness. I saw the endless distractions, the constant deferral of real living, everywhere. The casual disregard for the present moment, the constant planning for a future that was never guaranteed, these were no longer just habits. They were a collective spiritual disease, the gray haze I had seen. My old life, my blueprints, my deadlines, they all felt like hollow, meaningless things. How could I lose myself in planning for tomorrow when I knew the true reality was the eternal now, and Jesus was weeping over a humanity that was postponing its own life? I tried to share my message, my urgent warning and profound revelation. I told Sarah, my wife, first. "Sarah," I whispered, my voice raw with emotion. "When I was in that darkness, after the crash, I called out to God, and He answered. He sent Jesus, and He told me, our time is closer than we think. We have to live now, every single moment." Sarah listened, her eyes filled with fresh tears, this time not just of joy at my survival, but of a quiet, profound understanding. "Oh, John," she whispered, stroking my hair. "I've been trying to tell you this for years. He always answers, doesn't he?" But we have to be present to hear. Her acceptance was a healing balm, a confirmation that the love and urgency I had experienced were not a delusion. My children, Michael and Emily, were different. Michael listened to my story with the patient concern of someone dealing with a traumatized patient. "Dad, NDEs are a well-documented phenomenon," he explained gently. "The brain, under extreme duress, creates a narrative that makes sense of the experience. It's beautiful, but you can't stake your life on it." Emily, however, my soulful daughter, listened with a quiet, intense curiosity. She didn't dismiss it. She simply nodded, her eyes wide. "So, we have to live every minute like it's the most important?" she asked. I realized then that my journey would be one of profound loneliness in my absolute certainty, but also of unexpected, quiet connections with open hearts. My business, my career, my former life goals, they all began to lose their grip on me. The passion for building physical structures was replaced by an urgent desire to build spiritual bridges, to awaken others to the preciousness of the now. I saw that every delayed word of love, every postponed act of kindness, every moment of distraction was a missed opportunity for eternity to break into the finite. The path ahead was clear, though terrifying. I could not, would not, deny the truth I had seen. My reputation as a methodical, future-oriented professional was now a burden, a constraint on the message I was compelled to share. I resigned from my partnership at the architectural firm, a decision that shocked my colleagues and baffled my clients. They saw it as a breakdown, a man losing his mind after a severe trauma. I saw it as a liberation. I was no longer John, the master planner. I was simply John, a humble, broken, and remade man who had glimpsed the eternal now. The first few months were a wilderness of grief and isolation from my old life. My former partners saw me as irresponsible, my clients as unreliable. Many friends drifted away, uncomfortable with my newfound urgency and the spiritual language I now spoke. In my moments of deepest despair, when the loneliness felt like a physical weight, I would close my eyes and remember the promise Jesus had given me. "I will be with you, always, In every moment, you choose to be present. And in the silence of my heart, I would feel a warmth, a peace, a presence that assured me I was not alone. The love I had felt in the light was not just a memory. It was a living wellspring within me, a source of courage I never knew I possessed. Stripped of my career and my professional identity, I had to find a new way to be the wake-up call I was commanded to be. I started with the one thing I had left, my story. I began writing, not architectural specifications, but simple, direct accounts of my experience, which I shared online. I spoke of the overwhelming love, the terrifying truth of wasted moments, the profound reality of the eternal now. I expected ridicule, but something surprising happened. People began to read. A few at first, then dozens, then hundreds. I received emails from all over the world. Some were from people who confessed to living lives of constant distraction, of endless postponement, of fearfully waiting for a better time to truly live. Your story hit me like a punch to the gut. One woman wrote, "I've been living my whole life for retirement, and I'm missing it all now." I received emails from others who had experienced similar NDEs, finding validation and community in my testimony. "Thank you for putting words to what I saw," one wrote. But the most profound change happened in my own home. My daughter Emily, who had listened with an open heart from the beginning, became my strongest ally. She helped me set up a small nonprofit organization focused on mindful living and community engagement, encouraging people to disconnect from their screens and reconnect with their lives, their neighbors, their spiritual selves. She saw the peace, the radical love, the profound authenticity that radiated from me, even in the face of widespread skepticism. "Dad," she told me one evening, her eyes shining with tears, "I always knew there was more to life than the material. You just went to the furthest extreme to prove it. Now you live what you preach. And that's all I need to know. My life is now a quiet pilgrimage, a journey of witness. I am no longer John, the driven architect. I am simply John, a humble, broken, and remade man who has learned the terrifying and beautiful truth of the present moment. I have no official title, no grand platform, no large congregation. My life is a series of small, quiet encounters, of sharing my story, one heart at a time. My wife, Sarah, slowly, painstakingly, began to bridge the remaining gap. She saw the genuine transformation in me, the unwavering love, the profound peace that had replaced my old anxiety. One evening, after months of my quiet witness, she came to me. "John," she said, her voice soft, "I do not understand it with my mind, but my heart feels the truth of what you say. I see God in you now, a presence I had only dreamed of. Your now is different. Teach me how to truly live in the present." Her words were the healing of my deepest wound, the answer to a prayer I had not dared to pray. My son, Michael, still holds his scientific framework, but he now sees the profound human and spiritual impact of my experience. He has even started volunteering at a local charity, dedicating some of his precious time to tangible acts of service. He sees the goodness, even if he doesn't accept the supernatural explanation for my change. My life is now a living declaration of the truth I was shown, that our time is closer than we think, and that the only true reality is the eternal now. And so, I feel compelled to speak to you now, directly from my heart. You who are listening, perhaps from a position of faith, perhaps from skepticism, perhaps from a different life path altogether. I am here to tell you, with the certainty of a man who has died and been returned to life, that the most precious thing you possess is not your future, not your plans, not your achievements. It is this moment, the breath you are taking right now, the sound you are hearing, the person sitting next to you. The God you seek, the source of all love and truth, is not waiting for you in some distant heaven. He is here, now, in every single fleeting second of your life, waiting for you to simply be present. The walls that divide us, the walls of past regrets, of future anxieties, of endless distractions, they do not exist in the presence of the eternal now. They are human constructs, built out of our own fear and lack of presence. The message I was sent back to declare is not a threat of impending doom, but the most loving warning, the most urgent invitation. Your time is closer than you think. It is not a call to fear death, but a call to truly live before your time runs out. So I ask you, I implore you, do not wait for tomorrow to love, to forgive, to serve, to truly live. Do not postpone joy. Do not defer connection. Do not put off your spiritual awakening for a better time. That better time is now. This moment, this breath, this is your life. And it is closer to eternity than you can possibly imagine. Please, wake up. Live now. Your time is closer than you think.